And there's some powerfully interesting stuff that we're going to look at. Um, but I want to take just a moment and explain uh, the kind of ministry we are, because there are just lots of folk. They, America had been programmed, and we have a certain style of minister that we watch on TV, and we think everybody's supposed to be that way. And if they aren't, then we say that something is wrong with everybody else. Well, there are 7 different churches that God has in Revelation, 7 different personality types of the church, so that there's a place for everybody. But the problem that we run into is that, and I don't know how to help us. It'll take a long time to get you to see all of this stuff, but there's been such a program that's put in us of covering truth. America's notorious for covering up the truth. The history books cover the truth. The political system covers the truth. The church covers the truth. And we only deal with small pieces of things. And when people come and we're getting into some deeper things, it scares them because they're like, oh, what kind of church is this? Well, we are a New Testament church. I don't know what kind of church they've been attending, what I do, but the churches in America, we deal very little with the truth of God. We deal with the light fantastics. We deal with a lot of things that cause itching ears. We really don't get into the things that's going to cause us to become who we ought to be. So it causes people to struggle with people such as myself who look for deeper things, because the Bible, there's level after level after level after level of truth. And we don't understand it the way we should because nobody has taken us to that place. In Isaiah 6:56, I want to show you what God said about some of his leaders. Isaiah 56, verses 9 through 12. He said, all ye beasts of the field, come to devour. Yea, all ye beasts in the forest. When he's talking about beast here, he's using Old Testament type, but he's actually making reference to world empires and systems that men have put in place that take strength, energy, power away from you, that take your money, take your resources. When he's talking about beast of the field, you got to put the types together. Old Testament gives you types. New Testament gives you the fulfillment of those types. So when you talk about beast based on Daniel and even over in Revelation, is literally talking about a system, a world empire. It could be talking about the financial system. When you see beast and mountains, it's talking about something that has a strong power source to control people. So he said, all ye beasts of the field come to devour. Now, he's saying, okay, all you systems, come on, eat up my people. Just come on, get them, all ye beasts of the forest. And this is why. He said, his watchmen are blind. They are ignorant. They are dumb dogs. They cannot bark. Sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. You see, Jesus said, I didn't come to bring peace to the earth. I came to bring a sword. Now, why would a man of God who has a platform, who is standing before people, not talk about the injustice of a man being shot down in the street, no matter what color that individual is, by the thing that's supposed to protect us? Why would we say, well, that's not my fight? Jesus said, I came to the world because the world was in trouble and everything in the world became my fight. So now I'm going to choose and say, I'm not going to say anything about that. Now see, when I say what I'm getting ready to say, it scares people, but I pray that you not be overly afraid, because I just say to black preachers and white preachers, we are not doing our jobs. We are not speaking to the things that need to be spoken to. Now, just because you're white and that was a black man shot down, did you think Jesus is going to say, oh, well, I understand because you were white and he was black, that wasn't your problem? Jesus is going to get you too, boy. And then us black preachers who will not get in gear and stand up and speak, because young black men, they have been singled out. They have been, not going to call any name, but it was real interesting. I was talking with an individual, and her son gone to school, had a degree, and in a nice vehicle, going to work in another state, and he got to the place that he disliked the vehicle he had because he kept getting stopped for no reason because they thought because he drove that kind of car, he must be selling drugs. So now, why is it that he can't drive what he wants? Because somebody, the system is going to single him out and say, we must check you. Now, if it were a white boy driving that same car, it would be no problem. Now, white preachers, you need to say something about this. Black preachers, we need to say something about this. This stuff is wrong. So what is the church here for? I'm sorry, I forgot. The church is only here so we can build a nice building and I can get me a big Mercedes and have the right kind of house and have about 15 guys walking behind me, you know, carrying my one briefcase. Now, I want to explain to especially those that come to visit because I don't want you to be afraid of us. We're just an honest people. We're just dealing with what is real. God didn't send you here for us to just entertain you. Now, see, folks, what you must understand, and as I get into Esau, you're going to see some things to see that there's going to be a shifting taking place. And I'm speaking prophetically, but I study enough to know what I'm talking about, too. Now, he said his watchmen are blind. In other words, they can't see a thing. They're ignorant. In other words, they don't even know what to do about something if they did see it. And he said, they are all dumb dogs. He said, they cannot bark. Why do you need a dog if he can't tell you when somebody's breaking in? If all he's going to do is eat, why do you need him? And he said, they can't tell my people what's about to come. They can't tell my people why certain things are happening. They are caught up in a system that was given to us by the very folk that oppressed us. So I had to go back and find out, what is this thing? So a lot of stuff we do in the American church, it really has nothing to do with what God is doing now. And when I went back and studied the system of slavery, I saw how they took the church and the Bible and used it to take the minds away from the slaves. They used God and put a picture of a nice, blonde, blue-eyed guy in front of them. Folks, it's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to stop believing these silly lies that have been told and get to the truth of the Bible. He said they cannot bark, they're sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. Then he said, yeah, they are greedy dogs, which can never have enough. They're fat and lazy, and all they want to do is eat and sleep, not doing anything. He said, which can never have enough. And they are shepherds that cannot understand. They can't get it. Oh, well, that ain't my fight. I choose my battles. When you choose which switch, God's going to whip your rear end with when you get in heaven. Because he's going to get you for not standing up when we're supposed to be citizens of the kingdom. And he said, I did not come to bring peace, I came to bring a sword. So anytime a man and woman of God becomes afraid to say what God said, and God said that there's my word is going to bring a sword, he said, I didn't come to bring peace, I came to bring a fire. I came to stir things up. And if we're fearful to stir things up, then I say we've been bought by the system. We're owned. And we're working for somebody else other than Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ came, he sent his apostles out, and everywhere they went, they stirred stuff up. But they put Jesus Christ's power in every nation they went into. And all the nations were pagan, and they went into them and went in with Jesus Christ and built churches and taught them, and that's what Jesus told them to do. So they went in, they had to do some fighting, but the Holy Spirit was with them. And that's what I believe, that God is with me. And people who are just afraid to stand up against oppression, you're going to always be oppressed. I mean, if it's wrong, I'm sorry. God has said he'll take care of me. And you need to not be afraid. And you need to be taught how to, as a mature human, how to deal with stuff through your church. We need to teach you how to stand in the face of a supervisor who is irate and talk with a sense of order and dignity and help bring some things in line. But see, we don't teach you that. The only thing we're interested in is teaching you how to sing and usher and dance a little bit. But you need to know how to live out there in that world. You need to know how to handle yourself outside of here. Now, all of that, that's good for us in here, and it moves us. But how are you going to deal with stuff when you get out the door? That's what needs to happen. He said, they all look to their own way, every one for his gain from his quarter. And it was from where he lives, all he's looking for is what he can get out of it. He doesn't care anything about you. He said, come ye, say they, I will fetch wine, and we will fill ourselves with strong drink. And tomorrow shall be as this day, and much more abundant. They are caught up with their own spirit of drunkenness, their own selves, and they're in their own little cliques, and they say, hey, let's do this again tomorrow, and we're going to make more money off of these folk that we're standing up here in front of preaching. You see, that's what God is saying they're doing. Now, let me show you something in Isaiah 33 and 1. And then we're going to get on over to Genesis, because we want to deal with Esau for a few minutes. Isaiah 33 says, woe unto thee that spoileth, and thou wast not spoiled, and dealeth treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled. And when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. He said, woe. Now, that word woe is the same word woe that's over in the book of Revelation when God pours out all of this drama, this traumatic stuff on the planet. I mean, a horrendous time. And he said, woe to thee when you have spoiled somebody who didn't spoil you. In other words, woe to a person who takes advantage and beats and bangs the person up when they have not done that to them. Woe unto a person that deals wickedly and treacherously with somebody who hadn't done that to them. Now, I don't know what, based on my research, I can't find the thing that the folks on the west coast of Africa did to Europeans when they brought us over here. I can't find a thing. I cannot find anything that black folk did to whites for them to put us on the boat and bring us over here. Now, we were spoiled, and God said, if you spoil somebody else, your spoiling is coming. In other words, that just lines up with God's principle. He said, whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. You see, folks, you can't do stuff and it not come back. See, to shoot an unarmed man down when he hadn't shot at you, that is an atrocity. That is wicked. And they think they can get away with that. Well, you may pass more laws to do what you do, but there is a God that sits high and looks low, as the old folks said. And you're going to have to deal with him, because at some point, he is going to come see about this mess. As a matter of fact, I believe he's in this thing already. People have no idea what is about to go down. And he said that my prophets and my priests, they're blind, they're lazy, they're dumb dogs. They have no idea what God is about to do. Have no clue. Because all they can see is what they can get out of it. But see, this thing is going to stir up and do something that they did not anticipate. This is not going away. And see, they have dealt treacherously when they were not dealt treacherously against. Let me ask you a question. Now, when Roosevelt first put the Social Security system in force in 1933, the only people that could get it were white citizens. Blacks couldn't get it. So it was quite a few years later before we could. I reckon 10 or so years before we could get it. So we just had to live the best we could. But they could get it. So now, you talk about welfare. Maybe there's been some welfare that's been given to a small portion of us, because of the 100% welfare, blacks only make up 2% of the welfare. The rest of it goes to whites in this country, goes to foreign countries. You see, that money that they give $5 billion a year to Israel. That's considered welfare. They give $5 billion to Egypt not to attack Israel. That's considered welfare. You only get I think it's 2%. 2% of that 100%. Now, and maybe you've been getting that since, let's say, 1950. Well, now, how much does that compare to 200 years of free cotton you picked? How much does that compare with all the years of the tobacco that you picked and all the other things you did? So don't talk to me about welfare. And then when you gave it to me in a treacherous manner just to put my people in a system that you could keep control of them, paying them to have babies, keep the man from getting a job so you can control the people. Now, don't talk to me about that. Because that is unfair. That's treacherously. That's what was done. Now, we need to go understand some things about how some of this stuff came about. Look at Mark very quickly, chapter 8. Chapter 8. Look at verses 14 and 15. Now the disciples had forgotten to take bread. Neither had they in the ship with them more than one loaf. And he charged them, saying, take heed, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. Now the thing about Herod was not a Jew. Herod was an Edomite. Leaven. Leaven comes from the word zume, which means to ferment, as if boiling up, hot, fervid, earnest. So he said, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. In other words, beware of the religion and the way the Pharisees operate, because they have a fervid, earnest desire to bring you under their control with their doctrine about how to worship me. He said, then beware of the leaven of Herod. Herod was an Edomite. Now, let's go back to Genesis chapter 25, and let's take a look. You see, when you study the book, you find some things that's just altogether different than what you've been taught. Genesis 25. And let's start with verse 19. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padan-aram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren, meaning she could not have children. And the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when he bare them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob sowed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage and lentils, and he did eat and drink and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Now, this is the deal. These boys were twins. They were in the womb of Rebekah. And here is Abraham's son, Isaac, and he marries Rebekah. And out of the seed of Isaac comes these two nations. One is Esau, who is the oldest. The other one is Jacob. Esau is the red, hairy man. Jacob said he was a plain man. Jacob's personality seems to be, based on what we have discovered, the kind of man that would lend himself to hearing the voice of God. Esau, on the other hand, he had a different personality. They come from the same parents, but they're just as different as night and day. I know none of you know anything about that. Same mom and daddy, but just as different as night and day. Esau, you see if I can find my notes here. Let me see. Yeah, Esau, his name means in the sense of handling, rough. Esau was a profane person, meaning he lived for the worldly things and nothing else. With many good qualities, he lived for the earth. Esau, everything about him was about physical stuff, material stuff. All he wanted were things. The character of Esau, he scorns spiritual things. He scorns his spiritual inheritance. He's not interested in it. He's not interested in seeking blessings that come from God, from the God of Israel. He is profane. He lives by the sword or force of arms. He puts his trust in guns and military armament first and foremost. Why? And the question I would ask, why do so many people in America go to gun shows and, the NRA and just buying guns and bullets and all kinds of stuff? Why do we see so much of that? Well, I believe that we're going to get some insight as we keep going. Because you're going to find out that Esau is not gone. Esau is not dead. Esau did not go into annihilation. Many things that I have found about Esau, remember, Herod was an Edomite. Herod was a son of Esau, but he was a ruler over Israel. Now, remember what we said about these two boys struggled in the womb, in their mother's womb. One, the worldly man, was fighting with the spiritual man. The spiritual man fighting with the worldly man. You have that going on inside of you. You got Esau in you to some degree. Because your natural man is always coming up against your spiritual man. So God was showing us a dynamic here of what can be in us, but he's also showing us a greater dynamic that says there are people literally who are conscienceless about certain things they do. They have no conscience. Doctors call them psychopaths. In other words, they are psychopathic, meaning they have no compassion about doing certain things to you. They can do it, and it makes no difference to them. There are some people who have no compassion about whether they rob you. When it comes to money, they'll do anything they need to do to get that money, and they don't care if it hurts you. They have no conscience in that respect. Now, they may be all right in some other respect. Then you have other folk who have no conscience about if they can kill folk, they can do it, doesn't even bother them that they've killed people. I mean, just go right on. Some people go over to Iraq and different places and get into war, and they come back with post-traumatic stress disorder. Some folk go over there and go to work for the government and become professional killers. They have no conscience about that stuff. That's the spirit of Esau. Anytime you can just abuse another person and you have no conscience about it, it means nothing to you, that's the spirit of Esau. This man he was literally psychopathic. All he wanted was materialism, and he would kill you to get it. He'd destroy whomever to get whatever he wanted. It meant nothing to him. Now, we got some of our little brothers on the street. They're psychopaths. Because they can blow other little brothers away and think nothing of it and go on about their business. You had Klansmen that were psychopaths. And there were the Christian knights of the Ku Klux Klan. At least these brothers on the street don't claim no God. But see, they were claiming God and killing folk, lynching folk. Psychopathic behavior. That's Esau. Now, we all over the world taking over other folks' stuff and then act like something is wrong with them if they say, we've had enough. You see, that's the spirit of Esau. I believe we'll get to see basically who's controlling end time stuff in just a little bit. And you'll see why this spirit, it can have gas at the price of $11.95 a gallon, and I want to make it $22 a gallon when they don't need to. That's Esau. They keep squeezing until they squeeze the blood out. They don't care that you are destroyed. They don't care that you have your hands up. They will shoot you in the street. That's the spirit of Esau. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Esau is profane. Now, Esau is not interested in nurturing something to make it grow. He would rather name what he wants and claim it. He's not interested. Esau is not interested in planting a garden. He wants to take yours. See? You plant it, you nurture it, you grow it, then he'll come along and take it. You see, that's how Esau thinks. He'll grab it by force of his own human presence. He considers the nurturing life of God as weakness. We got bad guys in the movies, got the mafia, clan leaders, etc. These little boys on the street, that's the spirit of Esau, where they can have no compassion about how much damage they do to you. They can't even see it. They just do it. Children that can mistreat parents, parents that can molest and rape, kill their own children, spirit of Esau. You see, we don't talk much about Esau. They've kind of gotten Esau right on completely out. They're talking a little bit about Cain. But Esau's a bad boy, and he was born of the same parent that Jacob was born of. In other words, now the Edomite, and anytime you see Esau, Edom, Teman, Basra, Idumea, it's the same folk, the same guy. And that has to do with the area they lived in. The Edomites, Red, Esau, he's the same guy. Basra was a mountain. Teman was a mountain that they had in their land. And all of these names mean the very same person. So Herod was an Edomite. He was ruling over Israel. Did you know that Herod built a temple that was greater than Solomon's? In other words, when he gets into religion, he'll do it better than Jacob. He just won't know God. He'll just act like he knows God. And he will have a spirit that says, I am greater than everybody else. And he'll prophesy something too. But he'll have no conscience about what he does to you. It will mean nothing how he mistreats you, how he walks on you, how he undermines you. It will mean absolutely nothing. He'll do it, and he say, well, it was God's will. And they'll go right on. That's the Edomite spirit. You see, Herod, the Edomite spirit will be somewhat schizophrenic. You see, Herod killed all the babies under 2 years old trying to find Jesus. You see, Herod wants to stay the king. So if he thinks there's somebody that could dethrone him, he'll go after them. Anytime you find folk in church and they start seeing other folk that come in and other folks starting to do better than they are and they start to do stuff to undermine them, that's a spirit of Herod. That's bringing that schizophrenic jealousy in. I've been here for 5 years. Who do you think they are coming here doing so and so and so? All of a sudden, they start saying little things and whispering to undermine, to tear that person down. That's the spirit of Herod. Now, Herod is also operating up here on this level high in government. And Herod is in every nation. Just like Jesus Christ said, I am going to put myself in every nation. Don't forget the twin brothers going to